Morning and welcome back to Odd Socks. So I thought I'd try and get a video in today before we have all this torrential rain from Wednesday onwards for a little bit at least. And one of the jobs I've got to sort out today are my strawberries. Now my strawberries, where I had them this year, even though they grew so well, the fruits themselves were rotting really quickly. Now this is because it's kind of in a dip and our allotment's actually on a slope. So because it's in that slope, it's completely wet for most of the year. And with all the rain that we've actually had, especially at the beginning and through the summer, they just moulded incredibly quickly actually on the plant. Now I did pack straw in, I did try some other bits and pieces and things, but they just kept rotting actually on the plant before they'd even ripened. So I want to move them this year. The reason why it's more of an issue as well, it's incredibly shaded. Now we do have an old shed from the previous tenant, which we are keeping kind of. We are actually going to demolish it, move it, and maybe make a slightly smaller one in a better area where it's not going to cast so much shade. So today I'm going to prep one of the no-dig beds with some fresh compost and actually start to transplant these strawberries over. Now this is going to be the bed that I'm going to use. It doesn't get so wet, it doesn't hold on to so much moisture, well not to the extent that it does down there, and it's more in open sun as well. This year we grew our outdoor tomatoes here, and even though they weren't amazingly successful, I know this bed's fine because I've grown previous things in it. But the one thing that we do need to sort out is the compost. Now this is our compost that we've made. Well, we started in February last year. Now it is clunky and it has got plenty of chunks in, but I want to get this on now before I put the new strawberry plants in, so it has a really good top dressing of compost. Because this is no dig, I'm only going to put in a couple of centimetres on top of all this already made bed. This will feed all the microlife that's within the soil, helping to create a balanced ecosystem. Now it does have some sticks and twigs and things in there that haven't actually broken down. I'm not that bothered. If it's too much, I'll take some out. But in general, this is just going to be sprinkled over that bed. And I'm just going to put this on the actual top of the compost that's already there. Now there's going to be a few changes this year to how we've got our beds. And we're also going to extend some of our beds and make them a little bit bigger. Last year we were quite restrictive with what compost we had. We'd made some, but we were still buying in a lot. This year we've made a lot more, but some of the beds are going to have to be made early spring. Now all these lumps and things will be broken down over the space of the next few months. The winter weather, the worms and the insects and the microlife will carry on breaking this down. And the strawberries, even though I'm transplanting them now, will be more than happy in this compost. It's cooled right down, there's no heat to it, and it will just carry on breaking down naturally throughout the winter. Now all I'm going to do is just break up some of these bits a little bit. Now this is about 2 wheelbarrows worth of compost on these beds, which is more than enough for this size bed. Now I may put a little bit more compost over the next month or so on some of the other beds at least, because last year we were only working with a small amount and we didn't really put that much compost on. And because our soil here is just pure clay and very hard, I want to make sure that I've got plenty of good compost to actually grow in. Now this bed was weeded before I actually started to put the compost on. And that's as simple as that when it comes to topping up your no-dig bed. Now it's better to do it around about now and autumn because, like I said, winter will give it plenty of time to break down and the worms and all the biological life that's in there to actually work it into the soil structure. But if you're still making compost and it's not going to be ready till next year, you can still do it before the start of your growing season next year. We literally composted and planted straight into that structure, and we had a fantastic harvest off of those areas. But if you can give it the winter to break down, it's always better. Now these strawberry plants, you can move them at any time of the year really. There's no hard or fast rules. You can wait until they actually die completely back and then plant them up. The great thing about strawberries is they'll produce runners in the ground and you'll get loads and loads of free plants. Anywhere where those runners are touching the soil, they'll grow roots. And you'll get loads of extra strawberries to keep those strawberry harvests going. But one of the things to remember with strawberries, they're only really productive in their first 3 years. After that, you're better off disposing of those older plants and refreshing with some of those runner ones or completely new plants altogether. Now, I think strawberry plants are a real benefit here on our allotment. Strawberries are exceptionally expensive, and what you buy in the supermarket is nowhere near the same flavour as what you'll get from getting a really good variety growing on your own plot. Now, most of these are called Cambridge, and I'm really, really happy with the Cambridge variety, and it's definitely something I want to carry on growing. So I'm going to start digging up some of these strawberry plants and see how many runners we actually have. This bed is very, very, very weedy, really weedy. And removing all these strawberry plants will allow me to get in here and give it a really good weed. So when you're digging them up, this is what you'll get. Some really good healthy roots and a lovely little plant. Now these are going to go straight into the ground in a bit, but I'm going to put them into a box for now so I can see how many I've actually got. Now it's funny this time of year. Normally they're starting to lose their leaves and they've definitely stopped fruiting. But I'm actually finding more and more plants that have started to reflower and even fruit. Now these aren't going to come to anything, but it's always pretty to see that little flower at this time of year. It's that little glimmer of hope for next year's harvest. Now as you can see, I've taken up a very small amount of strawberries. Yeah, it has filled the whole basket. Now there's a lot of strawberry plants in there. Now, like I said, I'm pretty sure I only planted 6 or 8, something like that, strawberry plants last year. And in this basket, there's already about 30 or more. So even though they have loved this area and have grown really, really well, I can't get the fruits not to rot on these strawberry plants. So I'm going to take these ones that I've took up and start planting them in that bed. Now I'm starting to realise quite quickly that one bed is not going to be anywhere enough for all these strawberry plants and runners. So I think I'm going to actually have to make another bed, and I'm tempted to put it alongside the bottom of the polytunnel or alongside the actual polytunnel itself. The plants, strawberry plants, stay low to the ground and they won't create any dark spots or any shading for what's going on to the polytunnel next year. I've just got to work out whether I've got enough compost to do something like that this year. So this is what I mean about runners. This is the mother plant. This is the one we actually bought. And off of that, we have 1, 2, 3 other plants. Now, I've not trained any of my strawberries this year. So I haven't pinned any stems to the ground. I've just let them do their own thing, and they really have spread out all over the place. In a way, quite invasive. But I can forgive them because they're fantastic tasting fruit. But this is how you can really propagate and gain extra from your initial expenditure on buying a strawberry plant. Keep them healthy, let them roam, and you'll get extra plants to do that. Now this whole bed is going to be strawberries. So I'm just going to start planting these in. Now, because all these runners already have roots, a good strong root system, I no longer need them. So I'm just going to break them off and plant them all individually. Now I've found it's really quite hard to actually kill a strawberry plant. And it's quite crazy how quickly they take. So don't be afraid of moving your strawberry plants. They will always bounce back. So from one plant, I've created all these. That's not bad really. Strawberries are pretty easy to grow, and they can have a few little issues with diseases and pests and things. One of the main ones that people do get are like grubs and vine weevils inside the roots. Having them in pots, I found that this is more prevalent than it is in the ground. But if your strawberries are starting to fail and the rootstock is really weak and it's very limp and not producing, dig it up and have a look at the root system. You might find some grubs in there, which is causing damage to the roots, which means the plant won't be as healthy as what it needs to be. And another one is moulding of the fruit. But I find growing them in sun, keeping them out of too damp or wetter weather, and maybe lining with a bit of straw does help. Unfortunately, it didn't help me because of how wet that area was. So I better get on and get the rest of these strawberries in and see how much more room I'm actually going to need to replant all these strawberries. Now I've got all those in, well, apart from about 8 or 9. I'm definitely going to need more areas for my strawberries. All I know is that I can't carry on growing down there. I lost so many strawberries this year before they were ripened because they went mould and mildewy. Now this area, I've given it quite a bit of space in between each plant. But eventually, again, they'll regrow in and they'll start filling those gaps up anyway, naturally. Now, I'm not going to water these in. This compost is quite moist anyway, and we're forecast a lot of rain over the next few days. So I don't think watering is going to be an issue, but I do think I need to create another bed. But that's going to have to wait. I'm still trying to plan all the other beds that we've got. And those strawberries are not going to go anywhere at the moment. They're not fruiting, so I don't have to worry about any loss of those fruiting. But I want to start growing more perennials, more fruits and vegetables that you don't actually have to keep sowing every year. So for now, this bed is now planted up, and hopefully next year we'll have a lot more strawberries that we're actually able to use. So what's your favourite strawberries, guys? What's your favourite tasting, more prolific strawberries that you actually grow yourself at home? Like I said, most of these are Cambridge. There was a few other different varieties, but for the life of me, I cannot remember what they were. But let me know in the comments, guys, what's your favourite strawberry? And have you noticed a big difference between growing your own and buying from a local supermarket? I just hope I can figure out where to put the rest of these strawberries.